To our primary election forum. We will have a forum for the State House of Representatives first, and we will be a little flexible as far as time, depending upon how much the audience wants to participate in asking questions. We will welcome your questions after we take opening statements. First off, a reminder that we would ask you to check your cell phone, put it on vibrate, turn it off so that we don't disturb our proceedings. Want to recognize the media. Thank you, Huron Plainsman. Huron Radio. You can watch this forum on the Huron South Dakota YouTube channel. And you can tell others that they would like to watch this forum. Refreshments are from the South Dakota Farmers Union, AARP, and the Huron Chamber and Visitors Bureau. Our format will be 3 minutes for opening statements from each candidate. And we will take 2 minutes for closing statement and 2 minutes for questions. We hope we have some questions from the audience. I'd like to welcome this morning on my right Kevin Van Diepen, and to my immediate left Lana Greenfield and Terry Nebelsick. We have drawn for a sequence in the opening statements, and we will begin with Kevin Van Diepen. Kevin?
Thank you, Mike. I first of all want to say thank you to everybody for attending today, showing your interest in our political system. I'd like to introduce myself. For those who don't know me, I'm Kevin Van Diepen. I'm a 39-year resident of Beadle County in the city of Huron. I moved to Huron in 1985 where I met my wife. We have one son, Philip, who's a police officer for the city. His wife, Jessica, is a small business owner here in town at the Tumble Track. We have 4 amazing grandchildren. April 19th of this year, I retired from the police department, and I'm working on moving forward to my next phase of public service, and that is as your legislator for the District 22 open seat that we have. I believe that my experience in public service and law enforcement qualifies me for the legislative position. I've also been involved with the legislature through the Chiefs of Police Association, and I held that position for 5 years. So hopefully I can let you or make you decide which way you want to go. If you want to vote for me, I would appreciate that. And I welcome any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you. Second will be Terry Nebelsick.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and good morning to those who are watching online. Again, thank you for making this possible. This is our 3rd forum in 3 days with my friends to the right here. And so it's great that many different people in different venues are being able to hear this and get to know all of us. Diana and I moved to town 30 years ago and served in the school district for 27 years, 17 as the principal and 10 as the superintendent of schools. The time in my superintendent of schools is when I really learned a lot about the legislative process, which I'll speak to in a moment. We have 3 adult children. Jennifer and her husband Brian are educators in T and at the University of Sioux Falls, and they have our 3 oldest grandchildren. Our daughter Kayla is a traveling OBGYN surgeon, travels across the country doing surgeries and allowing doctors to have time off so that they'll stay in the profession. And our son Jeremy and his wife Rachel Cheddar from here in town are up in the Twin Cities, where Jeremy is a hospital administrator and Rachel is a pediatrician, and they have our 2 youngest grandchildren. And those 5 so far have been the 5 endorsements that I've received of those 5 grandkids, so we're rolling there. My mother, Rowena, is a longtime active person in the Republican Party, and her and Dad, when he was alive, were very active in supporting things. Dad ran for the legislature 25 years ago, and was a motivation for me to do that. I made a statement when I retired 3 years ago that I would not run against an incumbent from either party, because I believe that it should be service. I don't think that it should be political wrangling at the state level. It's a citizens' legislature, and so that's why I waited until Roger Chase, term limited out, and Lynn Snyder fulfilled Bob's Glanzer's terms in honor of him, and that's why the openings are now. I think that the most important thing that I bring is the ability to listen and lead, try to figure out what needs to be done, and then be able to put together the people, the positions, and the situations that have to happen in order for us to be successful. I think I can build consensus. An example of that in our community was a very brave community who moved forward and made sure our children did not miss education during the COVID crisis, and that we got as much medical care for people as we possibly could. I know that at the state level we have a great challenge, and that is to meet all the needs of the people who need help while balancing a budget and being responsible for the tax dollars that we all pay. I'll work hard to make that happen. I have great respect for the other two folks up here, and I appreciate how this whole thing has gone, and I look forward to June 4th.
Thank you. And third, we'll hear from Lana Greenfield.
Thank you, Mr. Held. Good morning. It's a great day to have a great day, I think. Beautiful sunshine. My name is Lana Greenfield, and I am a resident of Doland. I've been in Doland for 40 years. Prior to that, I was raised in Kingsbury County, graduated from the little town of Irwin when it was still there, I guess. I went on to Black Hills State University and graduated with a major in secondary education and got a high school teaching degree. And I was teaching for 37 years, and 26 of them in Doland. My husband, Don, is here. He's been married to me for 53 years. I guess he'll debate how many happy years that was, but 53. We've done a lot of things together. We've worked together very closely. We used to run a gas station, full-service convenience store in Clark, and we had that for 23 and a half years. And people enjoyed it because it was a down-home mom-and-pop service where we would go out and pump people's gas and clean their windows, you know, check the tires, check the oil, and so on and so forth. And that kept people, older people, safe in their vehicles. They didn't have to get out. There were times when they'd say, well, I really want a Diet Coke, but I don't want to get out. And I'd say, well, we'll run in and get it for you, no big deal. And so we did, because service is what we were all about. We currently own Greenie's Restaurant and Lodging area in Doland, and we have a full-service menu. This isn't an advertisement. In the fall, we have a lot of hunters that come and they lodge with us. There's most of them are all return hunters. We have a lot of very, very nice people. You know, we're very blessed, very fortunate. Just as a way of information, I guess I haven't mentioned this before, I try to add a little bit of variety so that my fellow candidates don't have to sit and listen to the same thing over and over and over. But for about 4 years in a row, we had a Hollywood stuntman come and stay with us during the hunting season. He just loved it. And he told me one night, he said, do you need me to sweep the floor or anything? I was like, no. And he said, well, I don't care. He says, I just love coming out here. I don't even care if I get any pheasants. It's just nice to be here. And that made us have a really warm and fuzzy feeling. I am a multidimensional candidate. Going on, I served in the legislature for 8 years. I was a member of local government during that time, and I also was honored to be appointed as the chair of the Education Committee, a position which I held for 4 years under 2 different Speaker of the House appointments. It was a very difficult, challenging committee at times. Mr. Nebelseck would be on hand sometimes to give input or just to sit and listen. And by the way, my vice chair was Bob Glanzer, and we were, you know, very saddened to lose that good man. If you want to think in any certain terms about me, you would know that I am willing to serve. I am willing to be a protector of the people. I am pro-life. I am pro-Second Amendment. I am pro-property rights. And with that, we'll be quiet and we'll listen to what questions you have. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Okay, I greatly apologize for my phone that I can't get to shut off with this timer. And realize that I didn't hold my cards up because I left them in the drawer over here to tell you where you were at with your time.
Lori Shelton is going to be our timekeeper this morning.
Oh my gosh,
She will
stop.
indicate to the candidates when their time is up. Also, you can ask questions verbally, come to the podium, or if you would rather write your question down and put it on a card, you can send it up that way and we'll ask the questions that way. Doug Ramsel in the back has cards and pen, and if you want one,
Sorry.
just raise your hand. You can't find your cards?
No, I have those. Oh, I should have those. I can't get my phone to
Can you
quit
close the
ringing.
entire app?
Oh,
Close the timer app.
you want my watch?
I just want this to quit ringing. Oh, boy.
Modern technology, it's wonderful when it works. I'm gonna,
You can just squeeze the top too and turn it on.
That's what I'm gonna do. Usually I'm much smarter at this stuff. I don't know what happened.
Laura, do you want this
yeah,
timer?
Yes,
you've got a
maybe.
watch on, you
I,
can just.
yeah,
keep it
I
on.
have a watch, but I didn't have my cards out this morning.
There you go.
There we go. I apologize. That's what I get for taking a couple days off.
Lori, do you want this?
I
You got it.
Thank you very much, Terry.
Okay, with that, we are ready for the first question. You can direct your question to one of the three, or you can ask it in general, and then they will voluntarily respond. Who would like to ask the first question? Identify yourself and tell us where you live.
I guess I can be the first victim. Hi, Tim Van Berkom from Huron. My question is, just wanted to know your opinion on public pre-K education and potential funding of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Who would like to start with a response? Go ahead.
I can go ahead and start. We've had a lot of discussion on that in Pierre in the past, and every school district kind of does it the same, or their own way. Like in Joland, the people pay for the pre-K education, either at the daycare or at the school. The 3- and 4-year-olds, the parents pay so much a week in order to have their children attend. If the people don't have the money, there are such things as scholarships. There's a funding mechanism for them. The pre-K, as far as being out there and supporting it, it doesn't have a lot of traction for the schools to fund, because the schools have enough, problems in the first place as far as finances. Smaller schools probably wouldn't have enough money to employ the people, because that'd be another 2 or 3 people on the payroll. So I don't see a lot of pre-K support out in Pierre at this point in time. As far as I'm concerned, I think that the status quo seems to be working, and so I'd want to leave it as it is. Thank you.
Go ahead, Terry.
Which way?
You can go.
Kind of have home court advantage on this one, and so I'll try to be concise. Obviously, I'm a strong advocate for public education for all kids, and the interesting challenges with pre-K. Part of the pre-K 12 question is the strong research that shows that the earlier that we intervene with children who do not come from families where there are a lot of books and a lot of learning materials growing up. The sooner that we intervene, the higher the likelihood that they'll graduate. That's proven over and over when we break down the data of the children taking test scores and the connection between the family structure that they have and the opportunities for resources that they have when they're younger directly relates to their test scores. That's why in South Dakota we identify GAP and non-GAP students. And so there is compelling reasons for schools to continue to look for ways to help children as early as they possibly can. As far as the funding mechanism for all of this, there is a mechanism in place so that schools can have a junior kindergarten in which those children who have qualified age-wise but may not be ready developmentally wise can go to kindergarten because they're age appropriate, and then actually have a 2-year experience in kindergarten with a pre-K and then a K. And there's some research to show that that has really helped. Finally, on the total issue of funding, the thing that we always have to be conscious of is that as the legislature passes the funding initiative for the next year, a part of that, by statute, is the participation of the local taxpayers. So we have to be sensitive to the fact that we're not only putting in place what the state budget's going to be, but we're also making a decision at that time on what the level of participation is going to be locally. So obviously I'm in the middle of 3 generations of public school educators, and the public schools have given thousands of children an opportunity. It's one of the most exceptional things about our country is free PK-12 education.
When I look at an uphill battle with 2 educators, and I get to talk against them, being from Huron for all these years and seeing the school system that we have a great pre-K system in the city of Huron. We now have the school district that has a pre-K program. Head Start is a good program. It's federally funded. There's money that goes with that. Our children are our future. So any way that we can find funding to advance our children earlier in life, to get them so that when they get to the actual school programs, the K through 12, that they can advance faster and succeed when they graduate. As a legislator, we need to find the funding to try to support programs like that. But as Terry said, we don't want to overspend because our people's tax dollars are very important, and we don't want to abuse their trust when they send us there to represent them with their taxes.
Thank you. Who would like to ask the next question? Don't be shy. Here comes one.
Rich Bragg from Huron. Certainly the local legislature maybe isn't quite as crazy as at the national level, but there are a lot of different personalities. So 2-part question, I guess. I'd be interested to know how you folks think you'll be able to work out there in Pierre where there would be a difference of personalities and working with different people. And then part 2 of that is how you think you would keep your own ideals as you work into a larger system.
Thank you. Who would like to start?
I'll start that one.
Go ahead.
As far as working with the other legislators in Pierre, you need to cooperate with them to a certain extent, but you also don't want to just roll over and accept what they're telling you. When I look at my history with law enforcement, I'm a fact finder. So when I get to Pierre, I'm going to look at all the facts that go with any bill that comes across, try to find what's right, what's wrong. It won't be a perfect answer, but we don't want to say that we're one big party and that's the only way we're going to vote. We still need to vote the way that we feel is appropriate for our district. Working with these 2 for the last 2 months, we've got along great. The national politics, you see a lot of infighting, I guess, in the parties and outside the party. As you see, last night we talked to Dusty Johnson, and he said that there's problems in Washington, D.C. with Speaker Johnson. They're trying to oust him. I think that our legislature, after working with these 2 and working with other legislators over the last year, that South Dakota is a rare situation. We're willing to work together to do what's best for the state, to move the state of South Dakota forward. So for me, I'm willing to stand by what I believe is right, the facts that I find, but I'm also willing to understand when someone's talking that I can take their advice to move the state forward.
Thank you. Who's next?
I think that it's really important, no matter what you're doing in life, that you are who you are. And at the end of the day, you can look in the mirror and be comfortable that you stood by the things that are the foundation of who you are and how you've lived your life. And I think that something that my dad said really carried me through 35 years of administration, and I think will be good advice here. Dad said every human being has a value, and if you can eliminate the emotion by which they're trying to tell you something and just listen to the message, that you can get to the real subject and substance of what's going on. I'm well aware of how some people can intimidate by coercing or yelling or whatever, and I think that the 35 years that I was a referee, I was wonderfully prepared for that, because people had emotional opinions on what I should be doing, especially if their child or grandchild was involved. And other referees would say to me, "Terry, you never get upset." And I said, "That's because I just look at them and remember how much they love the kid that they're screaming about, and that when this is done, we'll be fine." I think I can carry that to the legislature, and never forget when it comes down to finally voting is to be exactly who I've been and what brought me here, regardless of the pressure.
Thank you for the question, Dave. My feelings are that I've gotten along very, very well out in the legislature, and it's because I respect people. I respect their opinions, but I also respect my opinion, and I'm going to vote as I see fit without undue pressure put on me. I think that last night, as Kevin was saying, we had Dusty Johnson as a speaker at our Lincoln Day dinner, and he mentioned that it's amazing how the Democrats in Washington get behind each other and they don't backtalk or try to cut each other down, whereas the Republicans are doing infighting. And that happens at our state level too. And I've sat and I've tried to analyze it. And I guess I just don't understand, but I think with the supermajority out there, that there's people that go out there with good intentions, and then they try to be somebody rather than to do something. And so they fight for leadership, and some people are going, well, I'm more conservative than that person, so that makes me a better person. And that's petty. That's very childish. We need to look at the issues. We need to respect other people's opinions. And another thing, we do not need to be married to our bills, because once we're married to a bill that we put forth and people vote against it, then we get angry. We need to move past that. That's just the adult thing to do.
Thank you. Another question from the audience? Who would like to ask the next question? Here we go.
No, I'm always good for at least one. So.
Yes.
Ben Chase from Huron. The primary involving the three of you will essentially be the election, as there is no independent or Democrat that is running. However, in District 22, just like in the state of South Dakota, no party has a majority. Nobody has over 50% of the population registered. How do you make sure, all three of you are registered as Republicans, how do you make sure you are representing the independents, the Democrats, the Green Party, everyone else that make up actually the majority of the overall voters that are non-Republican?
Thank you.
I'll go. I spent 44 years in public education, committed to making sure that everyone had an equal seat at the table, regardless of their the status of the children. I used to promise the parents at the beginning of the year that discipline and expectations would be even, no matter what the child's last name was, whether the parents sat next to me in church or what status the parents had, that they would be treated on the value as a human being. And I'm very confident that I can take that forward. We have a system in South Dakota that is a party system, and I'm a multi-generational family that's been Republican, so I am registered Republican and proud of that, but I hope that the actions that I've had over my career have shown me to be a centrist and someone who truly wants to listen and understand the complexities, because we are one South Dakota much more than we are a party.
The first year I campaigned, I went to Aberdeen. That was part of my district. And the very first door that I knocked on, I told them who I was, and the person said, "What are you, Democrat or Republican?" And I said, "Well, I'm a Republican, but and he slammed the door, and I thought, nice. This is not the way that I want to be in my future. And I try to respect everybody. I don't ask people if they're Democrats or Republicans or independents. We work on issues, and we work on them together. There shouldn't be any separation. If we're behind an issue, we shouldn't care what they are. On my committee that I chaired in education, I had 2 or 3 Democrats that sat. I always gave them equal time. I always recognized them and never refuted what they had to say, even if I disagreed. So I think that it's easy. If you work behind, or if you work beyond what you think you are in your platform and stuff, if you can work beyond that and try to find the good things in what the people are doing and what they're saying, it shouldn't be an issue at all, Ben. Thank you for the question.
Thanks, Ben. As most of you know, like I said in the opening statement, I've been in law enforcement for 36 years. During that time, we deal with everybody of different ethnicities, different groups, and we have to treat them all with respect. And I think that's the way we need to be when we go to peers, not say we've got an R or a D by our name. Everybody has an opinion. We need to listen to that opinion, and we need to treat them all with respect. For all these years in law enforcement, I have several people that I still talk to today that I've sent to prison for a long, long time. And we have a respect. I'll sit down and talk to them because they're a person. When you get to peer, you need to look at everybody and look at the facts as people, not solely on what race they're with, what party. I've done that. For all these years, I can sit down and talk to anybody, it doesn't matter. Huron is probably the most diverse community statewide per capita. We have different ethnicities, they have different cultures, we have to figure out these cultures, and we have to work together. If we work together, we can move the state of South Dakota forward.
Thank you. Do we have another question from the audience?
Okay. As one of them, Drew Palmquist of Huron, as one of those independent voters, what's your stance on Israel and abortion?
I will answer that first, Drew.
I know the answer.
Okay, thank you. I stand with Israel, of course. They're God's chosen people. If you read in the Bible, you know that people shouldn't mess with Israel, so I do stand with them. As far as abortion, I don't agree with abortion in any way, shape, or form. I have a friend who was out in Pierre, and she gets really offended when it comes to people talking about abortion, and especially abortion during rape as an exception. She said that she is a person who was conceived out of rape, and she said she's tired of having everyone make her story their story. And so, that really gave me pause and got me to thinking about the fact that, everybody's different. And there are people in this world that were born out of rape, and they become very good and industrious, productive people. So we can't really sift and separate. Thanks for the question, Drew.
One at a time. First of all, on the issue of Israel, which is not a state issue, but it's certainly a humanity issue, I support the fact that they're a longstanding ally in our history with them and continue to believe that we should do that. I pray that our president and our National Congress can come up with solutions that can bring peace to that region. I pray for the innocent people of Gaza that are caught in the middle, and all they want to do is wake up in the morning and take care of their children and provide for them. And I pray for the Israelis that are caught in the middle of that there's an awful lot of innocent people caught in the middle. But I support where our government is to continue to support Israel as an ally and seek a solution to peace sooner than later. On the issue of abortion, I believe that I am pro-life, but I'm not going to just hide behind that, because as Nikki Haley stated, and I really respected that, is that the issue is complicated. I have a daughter who risks daily to try desperately to save babies' lives and to save mothers' lives, and is faced with life and death situations in that room that none of us would ever want to experience. And that happens over and over in the fight for life for everyone, including the fight for life for the mom. I am one that the more that individuals and their faith can determine where they go, and government can interfere a little less, I would prefer that. And I will never ever support abortion as a means of birth control, but I also believe that there have to be exceptions for rape and for incest, especially in that first 5 to 10 weeks, where medically people can help people who've been devastated by violations.
Thank you. As it comes to Israel, I look at it several different ways. Israel was an ally of ours who was doing their country's business, and they were attacked. And I feel that they have every right to defend themselves when being attacked. As the conflict progresses, I get a little concerned that we're going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, but every time Israel pushes, Hamas pushes back and does something else again against Israel. So they have every right to defend themselves. And they're an ally of ours. We need to support them. But at times I wonder why we spend billions and billions of dollars on other countries and we don't take care of our own. As far as abortion, being in law enforcement, I look at the situation and wonder what rules there have to be. There has to be some sort of rule to regulate if you're going to do it, if you're not going to do it. And personally, I'm against it. But when I look at all the children that are in foster care, or children that are born as a rape victim, had a child, I struggle more with the fact that we have all these children that have places to go, and it's tougher and tougher for people to adopt kids. We have tens of thousands of people in our state that are willing to adopt these children that are born and placed into homes or other establishments. And my opinion would be is the regulations are going to come down for abortion, one way or another. It's going to be passed by the people. If the legislature passes it one way, the people vote another way, we're going to have to abide by it. But I think we need to streamline how to get these children into loving homes and take care of them instead of making them a poster child for the abortion fact that's across our state.
Thank you. Who would like to ask the next question? I have a question that will, okay, come on up, Jerry.
Morning, it's Gary Kaufman, live at Lake Byron, north of Huron. Realizing that none of you were in the legislature this past year, I would like your opinions and interpretations of Senate Bill 203, which is the concealed carry gun, at schools, authorization by statute, and the exception that was allowed. I'd just like your input on that, please.
Thank you. Who would like to start?
Which one was that, Gary? 203?
Yes.
Okay.
And it was legislation about guns allowed in school, correct?
Yes.
That is correct. What it did is it added an exception to 1332-7, which was prohibition against guns at school. And it authorized basically an additional exception for upon the statute's written, upon principal's approval, a person having an enhanced concealed carry permit would be not in violation of that prohibition, if you will.
Thank you.
I can take that. Gary, what that one says to me is, and we're lucky enough that our school district allows us to have SROs in the school. So I struggle with the fact that we're putting more and more guns in school. I also understand that we need to protect our children. Working with Mr. Nebelsick and Mr. Steinhoff as superintendents, we put a lot of measures into place to protect our students. I think we're probably one of the safest that we can see in our area. I haven't talked to the school in Redfield or Dolan, but the smaller districts, our smaller cities don't have the opportunities we have in Huron. So by allowing that, if they go through the course for the enhanced carry, it's a 40-hour course, I think. It's supposed to teach more responsibility, but they're still not law enforcement trained. And I struggle with putting a gun in there, not knowing if the person understands what they should do in a situation. Everybody reacts different. Law enforcement goes through a 13-week training to learn how to handle the stress and how to deal with that situation. However, it still comes down to if you're in Dolan, South Dakota, and you have a teacher that has the enhanced carry and is allowed by 203 to carry a firearm into school, if that's the best protection they have, I do feel that they should be able to do that in some districts, but I think it should be a little stricter on proficiency and training more than just the enhanced carry.
Up to you. Appreciate the question, and have actually been asked that question when I've been out meeting with people. And my answer might surprise some people. It's a little bit parallel to what Kevin said, but in a place like Huron, where we have a SWAT team, and we have SROs, and we have immediate communication, I do not favor guns other than the police officers having them in school. However, I'm a strong believer that the folks that are being elected up here are being elected by the same people who elect the school board. And I really struggle with the state taking away authority from school boards. And my example is that we are talking seconds to a minute that we would have help at any of our 5 schools based on what every chief that I've worked for has a strategic plan in order to get there. Obviously, this last week's tragedy showed the lockdown communication with the school is immediate. So when all of the resources are here, I don't favor that. We also have 3 former police officers, 2 of them military, who I asked, would you like to carry guns? I asked that a few years ago, and they said, absolutely not. With the SWAT team, they don't have time to decide whether I'm the good guy or the bad guy. And so they did not favor that at all here. However, as I explained to people that were out there, I highly favor a school board in, I'm going to speak in Lemon this fall. I highly favor a school board in Lemon having the authority to decide whether they send an employee for the highly intensive training that Kevin was talking about, so that they do not have a 2.5-hour wait before a law enforcement person could get there if someone decided to target that school and take children out, like we saw in the situation in Connecticut several years ago, and the pain of those innocent small children. So I am more on this issue a belief of giving local school boards who are elected by the same people that are going to vote for us, the authority to make what's best for their community. The word principal in there, I was principal for 25 years, and quite frankly, the only thing I can say is that word is hokey, because the school boards are going to decide, and they're going to tell the administrators what they've decided, and they're going to work together. So why they decided to put the word principal in there instead of school boards, I have no idea. But I hope that clarified there's a huge difference by where you live.
Yeah, I agree with that. There is a huge difference on where you live. I mean, look at us. We sit out there in a very rural. A few years ago in the legislature, we enacted a bill called the Sentinel Bill, and we gave the local schools the authority to go ahead and designate a sentinel in each school, should they choose. Now, understand, a sentinel, though, has a lot of responsibility then when it comes to a possible crisis. And so a lot of schools just shied away from it because they couldn't find anybody, even though maybe somewhat qualified, the person didn't feel real at ease to do so. But I think it does come down to the fact that it is a local school board decision, and that Sentinel bill actually gave them an avenue for protection, but didn't drive it home that they had to have it. So that's the way that I think it should be. Thank you.
Thank you. For the last question, a question that was handed to me before we started the forum here this morning. Voters in November will vote on a number of ballot measures, including legalization of marijuana. For the third time in the last 4 years, we would be interested in what your thoughts are, if South Dakota citizens should be in favor of legalization of marijuana or opposed.
I believe it should be a vote of the citizens. I think the legislature's been very clear on the legislative intent of supporting opportunities for medical marijuana for the folks who suffered with epilepsy for years and what it can do to enhance their life. And the legislature's been consistently against recreational marijuana. That's where I would stand when it came to the legislature. And I listen to my other two folks and try to learn from them, but as Kevin said, when the people vote, then the people will decide that, and that's what we're waiting to see.
I have heard, and Kevin can certainly dispute this if he so chooses, but I've heard just about every sheriff in the county knows, in all the counties in the state know that it's a gateway drug. It leads to something else. You know, much the same as if you start out drinking wine, you might move to some other form of alcohol. So I'm not in favor of legalization of recreational marijuana. I think it's just one more problem that we're going to have our law enforcement officers have to face, one more crisis that we're creating, and so I would not be in favor of the legalization. However, as Terry said, it is going to come down to a vote of the people, and I would hope and pray that people would study it a little bit. Our AG, Marty Jackley, said in the past, as far as medicinal marijuana, that there is no medicinal value. It might calm people down, but as far as using the word medicine, that's used very, very loosely. So we'll see what the people decide this fall. Thank you.
Yeah, like I said, every time I look back at my career in law enforcement, and Terry and Lana have both said it, marijuana has been a drug that we've dealt with forever. If you watch the court news in Beadle County, the average fine for marijuana is a $100 fine. And it costs the city of Huron about $500 worth of man hours and paperwork and everything else to charge you people with that. But it does come down to the vote of the people. My opinion, though, is if it does pass for the vote of the people, we need to support that. But then we need to get stricter rules on how to enforce the marijuana laws. Right now, we've had people that get arrested for driving under the influence of marijuana. We don't have a set standard, a presumptive intoxication part of it. If it does pass it, we need to have something that tells us a person is intoxicated driving a vehicle or a motorcycle or anything else, that they're intoxicated. The second part of that is nobody wants to talk about the elephant in the room, and that'd be taxes. If it passes by a vote of the people, it needs to be taxed just like cigarettes, alcohol, and everything else. Nobody wants to endorse new taxes, but if we're going to have to enforce this to deal with the situation that's going to arise from the use of these drugs, we need to better outfit our law enforcement officers, our prosecutors' offices, give them the support they need financially. And I don't think that it should be at our expense. It ought to be at the people that are using this.
Thank you. We have come to the close of our allotted time, so we're going to move to closing statements, 2 minutes apiece from each of the candidates, and we will first hear from Lana Greenfield.
Well, thank you once again for being here and for being involved citizens and for the questions that you've asked. We might not have given you the right answers, but I think that we've tried as best as what we can. As I said before, I am a multi-dimensional candidate, having run businesses, 2 businesses at one time, taught school, been a former legislator. What you see is what you get. I am asking for your vote. I'm asking for your support in any way, shape, or form. We are all in this together, though. Kevin and Terry and I have decided that whoever is called out, so as to speak, we'll still stay in touch with the other people and bring up legislative issues of interest and of concern on behalf of our people. If you vote for me, it's a vote that I will promise you to serve you with integrity. I will serve you with honesty. I am a citizen legislator. I am not a politician. I do not wish to go out there and climb to the top and forget about the people that put me in place, because that isn't the way that our legislature should run. So with that, I just bid you a good day, and God bless you, and God bless you. God bless our state and our nation. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Jerry Nivelson.
Thank you. Thanks to everyone for being here and for those who are taking the time to watch this online in order to get to know us as well as we can. I can tell you with a clear conscience, I like these people, and that Diana and I have absolutely prepared for whatever the result is on June 4th to move forward, that this was good. It was a good example of governance. It was a good example of how people should treat each other, and hopefully it can be an example of how legislators should treat each other when two of us have the opportunity to serve again. Where I would ask you to consider sending me is that I have earned the trust of the last 4 governors to put me in leadership positions in order to try to come up with solutions that could be supported by schools, or that could be supported by the juvenile justice system, or that could be supported as legislators move forward with their work. And so I would take that experience, I would listen carefully, I would try to do the research, and then I would try to do the best thing. And pledging what we pledged to each other at the end of the day, this is about the process in our country of listening to what people have to say and then voting. And so what I've been telling people for the last month is that if you're a Republican, I would ask you to consider giving me one of your 2 votes. And if you're a Democrat or independent, I would really like you to talk to your Republican friends if you like me. And so that's kind of where I'm at as with the election situation that we have. And I really thank you for how well people have treated all 3 of us all across District 22. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin Van Diepen.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming today. What I'd like to tell you is my experience as a public servant for the last 36 years makes me a strong candidate for this position. When I look at the decisions I had to make over the last 36 years, I've made the tough decisions. I've stood behind those decisions. I've made life and death decisions. I'm not afraid to go to peer and make a decision and stand behind what I decide that we need to do. I talked to Speaker Bartles, and these 2 have heard this before. Speaker Hugh Bartles talked to me last December, and what he told me really stuck with me. He says, when you wake up every day, the only thing you need to worry about that day is make South Dakota better one day at a time. When I look back at my career, I've learned several important facts. The biggest one is communication is key to everything that you do. Most of the time, though, listening is way more important than talking. If you can't listen to the people that elect you to this position, then you're failing the people that have elected you. They're the ones that have to tell us the direction that they would like us to move forward with, and we need to move forward and not be afraid to vote the way that our constituents would like us to. I'd like to thank you for coming out here, and hopefully I've earned your vote June 4th. Thank you.
Let's show our appreciation to the 3 candidates. Couple of announcements. I would remind you that beginning Monday morning, Dakota Avenue, Highway 37 will be closed from Market Street to 3rd Street. And the chamber would ask you to please remember and support our downtown businesses as we go through that lengthy process throughout this summer and fall. Second, on Tuesday, the 14th, the chamber mixer is at Rev Aviation at the Huron Municipal Airport beginning at 4:30. With that, we'll take about 5 minutes to reset for our county commission panel and refill your coffee cup, and we'll be ready to go in about 5 minutes here. Okay, we'll call this forum back to order. We are going to have not as lengthy a time because we only have two candidates, but we'll take 20 or 25 minutes to respond to your questions. Happy to have with us this morning on my right, Jared Zerfus, and on my left, Rick Benson. We have drawn for opening statements, and we will begin with Rick Benson. Rick?
Thank you. I'm going to start by thanking the people for sponsoring this. I think the weather's too nice today with the turnout that we've had. But anyway, I've been on the commission for several years, and my approach since I've been on the commission, and will continue to be if I get elected, to make sound decisions that represent the will of the people, the majority. I don't consider myself to be a politician, so therefore I don't want to be involved in partisan decisions. I actually, in getting involved in the commission several years ago, I was asked by a commissioner to run, and I had really never given any thought to being a commissioner, but there were a couple issues that affected me, the Broadland Road reconstruction and the DMU Railroad, and so I made the decision to run for the commission, and actually I have enjoyed it. I listen to people. I try to make decisions that are the will of the people, but you can't keep everybody happy all the time. And so therefore you have to be willing to take the heat sometimes. I take pride in the fact that the commission has operated in my time in a nonpartisan manner. It happens right now that we're all Republicans on the commission, but it hasn't always been that way, and we've gotten along great. We do not, have not in the past anyway, let politics get into our decisions. And I think that's the way that it should happen at the county level. So with that, turn it over to Jared.
Thank you, and we'll hear from Jared Zerfus.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming. Jared Zerfus, I live over by Wessington, South Dakota. Lived in Beetle County my entire life. Been approached by several people to run for a commission. The infrastructure that we have in Beetle County has been deteriorating for several years, and if the grants from the state or federal ever cease to exist, I think we need to start thinking about the long-term future, the next 20, 30 years. What are my kids going to do with it? I'm on several boards around the Wessington area. Wessington Economic Development, I'm the president of that, and we host a Parade of Lights and a fun days, all school reunion. Farmers Union Oil, president of that as well, the gas station there right in Wessington. Been the president for 8 years on that, and when I was first elected to the board on that, the store was within 2 to 3 years of closing down, and we brought it back to where we've been turning a profit the last 4 years now straight. So ran a successful seed business for 15 years right out of Wessington. I had the opportunity to sell that and get back to farming, running equipment, which is where I really wanted to be. So I've been doing that for the past several years. Farm a little bit on my own and help a neighbor out. Still sell some cover crop seed and do some treating for soybean seed, corn, wheat, and stuff like that. I have a wife and kids. My wife works at the Wolsey Weston School District as a librarian, runs the after-school program, and is also the chorus teacher. 2 kids. I got a 7th grade boy and a 2-year-old, or a 2nd grade daughter, excuse me. So I'd appreciate your support come June 4th, and I'd like to thank everybody for coming.
Thank you. We are ready for your questions. Who would like to ask these two candidates the first question this morning? Okay, let me start it off, and we did ask the candidates for their suggestions, so we'll ask one of the submitted questions. What do you see as the major challenges for Beetle County for the commission to address in the near future and also further out in the distant future? And we'll use the same format. Whoever wants to go first, go ahead.
So like I said in my opening statement, infrastructure is a huge deal. The commission right now has been doing a great job as far as updating bridges and roads when they get the funds available, either federal or state. I know there's been several in my area where I live that they've replaced, and they really turned out nice. So I'd like to applaud them on that, but like I said, we need to be thinking the next 20, 30 years out. If the funds ever do dry up, the grants dry up, I think we need to be starting to plan for what's going to come next.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Infrastructure is a big issue. There's 573 miles of county roads in Beetle County, and it's a challenge to have the funding to take care of them the way they need to be taken care of. But our highway superintendent is doing what I think is a fine job with the funds that we have available. As far as bridges, the state legislature passed the Bridge Improvement Grant Program several years ago, and we have, the county has benefited greatly with that. We have replaced, under that program, the state puts up 80% of the cost of a bridge, and the county contributes 20%. So it's been a big boost to the county. I think I don't know what the latest number is, but there's like 140 bridges in Beetle County, and 75% of them are over 75 years old. So it's a problem. This past year, the federal government came out with a program, and they will actually pay about a little over 90% of bridge replacement. And this year, we will be, if we can hire contractors, we'll be replacing 9 bridges in Beetle County. And that will be wonderful. But it's a continuing thing. The bridges have, a lot of them have lived out their useful life. Furthermore, yields are increasing for the farmers, and the loads that we're putting on the bridges continues to increase. And several of the bridges, we have load limits on them, and they can't use them because the loads are too big now. So I guess we also are trying to put hard surface on certain roads, repair the ones that are hard surface, and we've actually added hard surface to a few roads. But conversely, we've actually looked at when some of the hard surface roads deteriorate to the point where we actually grind them and turn them back to gravel. That's never popular with the people that live on those roads, use those roads, but sometimes it's a necessity. So,
Thank you. Who would like to ask a question?
Chair Neville from here, and I'll just ask it because you shared the stage with us this morning. What should the relationship be with the county commission and the legislature? How do you see those two needing each other?
Go ahead, Rick.
Well, I don't think that the communication's probably been as good as it should be in the past, and it's probably, that falls on the county commission. We do at times contact our legislators, you know, to get their input on things. I don't think we're proactive enough in taking things to them on what our stance is on things. You know, we contact them to ask questions, but not necessarily to provide the input that we maybe should. We do, there is a tracking system during the legislature where we can track all the bills that have been submitted and what their status is and everything. And our state association does make recommendations to us on the bills that they think that we should support as a commission, and also on the bills that they would like us to provide input, our opinions, I guess. Whether or not that happens that much, I don't know. I know I've been guilty probably of not providing the input that I maybe should have on certain things, but anyway.
Jared?
Thank you, Terry. I'm going to age you just a little bit because you used to ref some of my high school games, so I've known you for a while and always respected you. I think when people quit talking, whether Republican, Democrat, nothing really seems to get done, and then people just get a idea that, well, why is he not talking to me? And they get frustrated, and nothing will get done. So I think you got to have an open line of communication as far as the bills that are going through. And with the county, it directly affects us as far as budgets and the bills you guys are going to pass for road maintenances and stuff like that. So you have to have open communication with everybody that's involved in the government to get stuff done, I think. You can't just shut down and not handle it.
Would someone like to ask the next question? I'm going to take the liberty to ask one. One of the issues that the legislature has decided to study is property assessment methodology. How well are we doing as far as assessment of owner-occupied homes, businesses, and ag land? And I would ask that specifically of what your perspective is as far as assessments in Beetle County, and how well are we doing in that area?
Okay, I feel that our Director of Equalization is doing a wonderful job of that. She takes a section of the county every year and goes out and reassesses things. And I feel that we're pretty well up to date on that because of the rollover from one assessment to the next. You know, that's an issue that I'll guarantee you we get public input on from taxpayers, because people see that their assessment went up and they think, holy cow, my taxes are going up with the assessment. Well, that's really not how it works. The assessment goes up, but the mill levy goes down. So, you know, so anyway, as far as ag land, I don't know. I own ag land, and I guess I think it's, the valuation is fair on it. I sometimes think that maybe it can be a little bit high. It's a little bit higher than maybe it should be, but all you have to do is look at the sales, which is what our Director of Equalization does, and you know, things keep cropping up. So I think we have to be willing to take their word for it and pay what's due. I guess that's.
Jared?
Yeah, I think as far as assessed values, I think they've been kind of right on line with what Han County's been doing from what I've seen the past 3-4 years anyway. They seem to be right on line with other counties surrounding us. As far as the ag land goes, yeah, it's all about the sales, and I understand that ag land isn't $700-800 an acre like it used to be. But now it's bringing $5,000-$7,000 an acre in the county, which is, I think it's crazy. I don't know how guys are doing it, but I congratulate them for doing it if they can make it cash flow. Yeah, nobody likes seeing an increase in taxes, but if we want nice roads, nice bridges, and to maintain the roads, get them mowed and keep them looking nice and the county looking nice, then the funds got to come from somewhere.
Thank you. We would take one more question if somebody had one.
I have a question.
Sure.
Lori Shelton, Huron. In addition to roads and bridges, because we know that that's a major part of what we hear about that the counties are trying to deal with, what do you think would be the other major issue outside of handling our roads and bridges that our county has?
Well, over 50% of our budget every year is split between roads and bridges and, well, three things, I guess. Jail, law enforcement, and court-appointed attorney fees that we have to pay for people that can't afford an attorney. So, you know, that's where a majority of our funding goes. And, you know, I'm gonna make a comment here, and I hope educators like Terry don't take it the wrong way, but in my particular instance, of every $1 of tax that I pay, only 24% of that comes to the county, okay? 60, almost 2/3 goes to the schools. And I do not have a problem with that whatsoever. I mean, we need to spend money on educating our young people, but, you know, sometimes the county takes the rap for, well, you know, our taxes are going up, and what's the county doing with that money? Well, a lot of that money never makes it to the county, or it makes it to the county, but we hand it off to, you know, these other entities, so.
Thank you for the question. Especially, it seems like more and more, you're always hearing about public mental health, and I think that Huron in the Beetle County area, with the diversity that we have, it's an issue. We have several counseling places in town, and it's hard to get an appointment in there. So a lot of it is either via telephone, or they have to call outside of the area to visit with somebody if they're having issues. So I think mental health issues are a big thing in the county.
Thank you. We are going to move to a closing statement, and Jared, we're going to begin with you.
Okay. I'd like to thank everybody again for coming. As you can probably tell, I'm not much of a politician, public speaker. I prefer to be outside, boots on the ground, working to get stuff done. So I'd like to thank everybody for coming again and sharing this morning with me. Thank you.
Thank you. Rick?
I'll echo his comments. I'd like to thank everybody for coming. I feel that during my time on the commission that we've made major strides within the county. And I would hope going forward that we could continue to go in the direction that we're going. again, I stated earlier that I'm not a politician. You know, I want to make decisions based on what's best for the citizens of Beetle County, and I'm willing to get along with anybody, whether it's the same party or the other party. And with that, I guess I would thank you again, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's show our appreciation to the two candidates. Thank you for coming this morning. We appreciate your interest in what we do as far as state and county government, and have a great day.